Welcome to the Disrupt Now podcast, episode 54.
Create the highest, grandest vision possible for your life because you become what you believe.
What makes people excited is progress. You don't have to be at the goal yet to feel alive again. You have to make progress.
Just do right. Right may not be expedient. It may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul.
What matters most is finding your inner purpose.
Disrupt Now, a coaching program and a podcast designed by entrepreneur and visionary Natalie Viglione. In this podcast, we bring together disruptors and life game changers that will help empower you to disrupt status quo in order to progress you towards the ultimate vision you have of your life. We'll explore alternative topics with our guests whom are global healers, meditation gurus, transformational life teachers and coaches, women entrepreneurs that are fighting to make this world a better place, and people in general that are disrupting industries from education, fashion, technology, art, health, and much more. Please join us on this journey to move humanity to a much higher level of consciousness and create more mindful conversations.
Hi, I'm Natalie Viglione with the Disrupt Now podcast.
And I'm Diane McDermott.
Co-host, awesome, as always. All right, we have a full room in our Zoom room today and in our video, which we will have as well, with a bunch of awesome ladies. So this is amazing to see. I love it.
Collaboration and partnership all over the place. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, we have two badass ladies with us today. We have Margy Feldhuhn and Jessica Rhodes. Now, they own a company called Interview Connections, and I have a personal experience with them, which I'll talk about later. But Jessica Rhodes is the leading expert on how to leverage podcast guesting for increased brand awareness, more leads, and higher profits. And she created the podcast booking industry in 2013 when she founded Interview Connections. And this is the first and leading agency of its kind, which is freaking awesome. We're going to talk about that. Along with her business partner, Margy, who I'll introduce as well, they together quickly scaled Interview Connections to over $1 million in annual revenue with nearly no direct marketing or advertising, which as a marketer, I'm like, what? So we got to talk about that. Margy is the co-owner, and she helped to quickly scale the business with Jessica, and she's designing and she's implementing systems to increase revenue, streamline operations, and achieve the highest quality client experience. And Margy has also taken on a creative role in the agency. So Margy, Jessica, welcome to the Disrupt Now podcast. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Heck yeah. And so the personal connection is that I'm getting interview connections through Interview Connections. And Diane and I are like, these people are awesome.
More of this, please. Yeah.
So, the good news there is that your team's doing a good job.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Because it's about targeting as well, right?
Yes.
So a word that I'm sure will get integrated into our conversation today.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Exactly. So all right. So when we spoke initially and we were just kind of configuring the map and if this is a good fit, as we all know here, Disrupt Now is really about a journey of transformation and what it really takes to do that, which is a lot. And I think that at the time of this recording, which I hope that, later in the year, in 2020, we can look back at this and laugh or not, just not cry as much. Of all the things. But, we really wanted to also say that what really stood out in our conversation was this showing up mentality. This mentality that, if you don't show up for yourself, then, how can you show up for anyone else? This is such a strong theme for me in my life as well. But in a business together, holy shit, you better be on that showing up train. And, that takes a lot of effort and work. So we're going to ask you all kinds of questions around that, because I think that's imperative for people to hear. But let's take this step by step. First, let's dig into the journey. How did you guys get kind of where you are right now? And that will be kind of a convoluted question, but I figure we can traverse that journey together as you share your story, because I think that will be awesome for our audience to hear. So whoever wants to take it first.
I'll let Margy go first, because a lot of times you start with the business founding, but I want Margy to share first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was expecting the business founding to go first. So Jess and I met as door-to-door fundraisers, raising money for the environment. And that is a great job if you're going to be an entrepreneur, which I didn't know at the time. But door-to-door is the best sales training ever. And once you can do that, you can really do anything. Of course, it was a total accident. I didn't strategically go into that. I was a art and Latin major and I couldn't get a job. And I found the job on Craigslist, but it ended up really working out. And I really do believe that things come together the way they're supposed to. So we connected there, and then I left. I traveled. I lived in Asia teaching English. Meanwhile, Jess got married and had kids. We really went our separate ways. And then when I was living in Taiwan, my mom called me and told me that my dad had killed himself. And my life totally fell apart. I'm very close with my parents. I'm an only child. And suddenly I had to deal with this grief and plan an international move. And then when I got home, my dad was also a hoarder. So there was this gigantic house that I had to figure out how to clean. So I had to figure out how you do that. How do you get a dumpster? How do you hire the right people? How do you systematize everything that needs to happen? And it was a huge job. It was absolutely crazy. But really, that was my first business, really was that project, even though I didn't realize it at the time. And Jess actually adopted my dad's cat, because one of the things that happened is I was stuck in Asia. My mom walked out of the house. She just could not deal. She was staying with a friend. So she was going back to the house to feed the pets and obviously take care of them. But they were mostly in the house alone. So I did a post on Facebook from Taiwan, desperate to get people to come pick these pets up and just foster them until I could get home. And Jess was one of the people who did that. And that's how we reconnected.
Yeah. I remember it's so funny. You remember certain moments. I was at the gym and I got back to the locker room. I checked my phone and looked on Facebook and saw that post. And I was like, we've always been kind of like a 2-cat family. And at the time we had 1 cat. And I remember saying to Jamie, I was like, Margy is, needs people to foster these animals and we have an opening. So I got Kitten.
Aww. That's a credible story because, to reconnect over trauma is also...
And that level of grief. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of layers of grief right there, and a lot of moving parts to navigate and coordinate.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it helped dealing with all of that. It wasn't just mindset. I also had a great therapist. I highly recommend therapists to help you process trauma. And it was
Agreed.
And it was through therapy. I did EMDR, which is a really good deep trauma processing that I love. I was also doing personal development and yoga, and then we ended up doing Landmark together. So it was all those things that really helped me heal and get to the point where I could be effective professionally.
Right.
Yeah.
So what time frame is this roughly? Is Jessica, had you already started the company? And
Yep. So this was it 2015 or 2016?
2015, yeah.
So that was 2015. In 2013, I had founded Interview Connections. So I had a baby, my first child, Nathan, in 2013, started Interview Connections. And I was just doing that business first the initial 6 to 12 months, I was basically like a freelancer. I had a couple of VAs that started to work with me. But I was working from home as a new mom. And yeah, just kind of growing a small business over those first couple of years. So I was, Interview Connections was maybe just hitting 6 figures at the point when I reconnected with Margy. I mean, really just to get her cat. And then we didn't really start working together. And I she was still in Asia. So she gave me her mom's number, and I went to her mom's house, and Kitten wouldn't come out of the basement. So then your mom had to bring her to my house. And but yeah, I was like in the early years of Interview Connections at that point.
Okay,
and then, And then as I started growing the team and bringing on guest bookers, Margy was then at that point had moved to Colorado. So maybe we fill in that part of the story.
Yeah.
This is the story of us coming together.
It's
slowly merging.
Yeah, it's so crazy how things work out. So I finished the house clean in 5 months. I had a hard deadline because I was planning to move to Colorado with my partner at the time. He had gotten into a PhD program. So that was a plan that had been made before my dad died. And it seemed like it made sense to just go with the plan. Not a great idea, but should not have moved to a city where I didn't know anyone and had no support. But at the time I was like, sure. But one of the things that really came out of that and being in Colorado and being miserable was I really decided I wanted to work from home. And I was like, I can't take this anymore. I'm not driving in the snow to this job that I hate. I was selling jewelry at the time. And I was like, I heard about remote work. I was like, that's incredible. And within like a couple days of me hearing that remote work even existed, I saw Jess's post that she was hiring contractor booking agents. And I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Done.
Just these Facebook posts, like bringing us, just getting us, connected.
The power of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a bright side to it. There's a definite shadow side, but there's a bright side to technology too.
Yeah, totally.
So I saw that post she saw the post and then she reached out to me. I think you maybe sent me a Facebook message, or maybe you just went right to an email. It was like a very
I think I sent you a cover letter. I wasn't playing, girl.
You definitely sent me and there was definitely a
You're
couple.
like, wait, is this Margy? Wait, what?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was like a Facebook message followed by a cover letter, but I think she went right in for the cover letter and resume and all the things. And I remember because I was the Canvas director for the organization when we worked together. So I had interviewed Margy before, and she was like basically making more money than I was, even though I was the director. She was making so much commission off of her fundraising. So I was like, oh, she's amazing. Like she could do this for sure. So then I brought her on as a guest booker, and she was, easily one of probably the best, honestly, at the time. And then back to Margy, moving back to Rhode Island.
I'm loving how we're telling this.
I love how you are a gypsy soul too, because that resonates with me. I've been all over this country, so
yes. Yeah, I'm obsessed with travel. I guess not gonna happen this year, but yeah. But yeah, so then I ended up moving back to Rhode Island because my relationship didn't work out because I had not properly processed my grief. There was other problems too, but I really should not have been in a new city. I was not like looking to make friends. I was really, really messed up over losing my dad, and just like, it was a lot to deal with. So I ended up, the relationship didn't work out. So I moved home to live with my mom, which at the time I was like, oh, I feel like such a loser because I'm 27, but it was great. Like we needed that time to heal together. And luckily I was a remote contractor. So I was able to move from Colorado to Rhode Island and keep my contracting position, keep my income. And then it worked out that I lived in Rhode Island because Jess decided to move to all employees and get rid of all the contractors, so only in-state people could become employees. And I just happened to be in Rhode Island hustling my face off. So I became the first in-house employee of the business in 2017.
Yeah, it was such good timing, because I remember like when Margy because she was like working as a contractor for Interview Connections, and it was that like time frame in 2016 where she was like starting to, think about moving back. And it was a obviously a terrible time for her, but I was also like, sick. You can be an employee.
This is amazing.
I was like, I don't want to root for the failure of your relationship, but it would be really great if you're in Rhode Island.
Yeah, no, it worked out. It worked out. Well worth it.
So yeah, she moved back, and that was, when did you move back, in like the fall or?
It was this summer because the air conditioning in my car broke. It was July.
That's
Don't
right.
forget
So, yeah.
moments like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was continuing. Yeah, so it was, I remember that because it was the summer, and there's some crazy stories, I'm sure, in your book about that drive back. But yeah, so then, you know, continuing to work as a contractor in the business. And then I was like, okay, I need to bring on full-time employees. I first just thought it would be Margy and then all contractors. I was like, I just need one employee to oversee all these contractors.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when I brought on.
That's a full-time job in and of itself. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Margy, do you want to share the story of when I offered you that position?
Yeah, so this is, and I've only shared my side of this story somewhat recently with Jess, which is so interesting. So when I told her this, it was like maybe a year ago, and she was like, really? So I had become really into freedom. And I was obsessed. I was like, you know, listening to our clients' interviews and talking to them on the phone. And I was so inspired. And I was like, this is why I've always gotten bored at jobs and I move so much. And I just like stimulation and excitement. And I'm like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Like there's nothing wrong with me, but like, this is what I want. And so I loved the freedom. And I had like a side hustle, MLM fitness business at the time. And when Jess, like, it was so cute. So she invited me out to lunch at this place, and it was like 12 and she had a glass of wine. So I was like, uh-oh, this seems like it could be bad news.
There was some really stressful stuff happening in the business. So I was like day drinking on like a Thursday.
Yes, there was a lot of, we were having like crazy problems with the contractors. Yeah. And so I arrived, and she had this gigantic nameplate with a cat on it because like, I'm a big animal. Yeah, it was gigantic. And so she like presented it to me and was like, will you be an employee? And I was just like, I hadn't been expecting it. And I was a little bit shocked. And I also didn't want to be an employee because I was loving the freedom.
Yeah.
But it was also so nice, and this cat nameplate. So I was like, yeah. And then I left and like called my best friend and like cried. It was like, I don't want to go back to being an employee. Like it's not a good fit for me. But she like talked me down, and it was confusing to me because it felt on the surface like a step backwards. But part of me, and that's why I accepted right away and never went back. Like I knew it was the way forward, but I didn't understand why. You know, like I knew I needed to do it. I knew this was the next step, but I was like, I don't feel like this is what I asked for though. Like, why is this happening? But I went with it, and it was actually like the path.
Yeah. And I had no idea what the heck I was doing in that moment. Like I had never had employees before, other than like managing a staff and organization that they had all their systems set up. But yeah, I got her a giant nameplate that was like
this.
It literally arrived in the mail like the morning that I was going to offer her the job, and I thought it was like really small, and it was like it was giant and like iron, so it was very heavy.
You're like, oh, here, I got this for you.
Huge bag on the floor, and I was like, I got you. And then also because I like couldn't offer her, you know, a high salary, right? Like I barely wasn't making that much money. So I also obviously got to provide the supplies for your employees. So I got her, you know, obviously a laptop, and I said, if you stay for a year, the laptop is yours.
It was like a prize.
It's not quite as heavy as the nameplate.
Yeah.
But you still have that computer. We still have.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It must be a Mac.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
Now
sense.
all of our employees have the new model, and our admin assistant's like, why don't you guys get a new computer? Like you have the old model.
It has meaning, special
Yes.
meaning, okay?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm crying. This is so funny. We've never like done an interview where we share this story.
Oh, I love that. See? That's what this is all about. Get the juice. No, that's good stuff too. Because, I know that there's a lot of business owners, with me included in this conversation. But that moment and, getting to that moment of taking on employees, that's a moment. And day drinking is usually
Involved. Yeah.
There was a lot. There's probably stuff for HR reason I can't share, but there was like so much happening. And I was like, can you curse on this show? Or is this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh God. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh fuck yeah.
We were down this path. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? It's like, please say yes, Marky. I can't do that.
I don't know what I'm going to do if you don't.
Please help.
Yeah, and you were what, at like the 5-year mark too or so, which is like...
Yeah, it was 2016 because her official start of employment was like January 2017. So started it in 2013. Yeah, so it was like 2-3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. That it's an interesting time too, because, that evolution of the roller coaster of owning a business, especially when you're moving from contractor and you really, I thought I was there like a couple years ago. I'm about 4 years in, and I was like, I made some really stupid decisions because I was hiring based on how I can help them versus myself, which doesn't really work out, by the way, if anyone's curious.
It'll work out for you. Yeah. I know the answer.
I'm missing a laptop off of that one.
Oh no.
Oh really, the laptop is a true story for me too. And I was like, fuck it, just keep it. It's okay. I don't care. I'll pay for it, whatever.
Cut my losses.
Oh, but that's real. So that's why that's so funny to me. But and you said something, Margy, that I think we really need to like talk about too. I really loved your words that you chose. I knew it was the right choice, but I didn't know why that was the right choice and why that was the forward path that was being that you were being led to, because you asked for something else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think there's an interesting conversation around that Diane and I can really hone in on, which is the universe, whatever you want to say, whatever expectations you have.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and throw those out the window.
Just toss them right now. Yeah. Yeah. Attachments to outcomes, expectations, yes. And without being able to logically explain, just it's like a deep inner sense of knowing.
Yeah.
And I certainly, and I know Natalie, you relate to this as well, just like I can't explain why. I just know that this is what I need to be doing and this is where I need to be moving forward. And without having the logical explanation, it terrifies me. Because I want to be able to pinpoint a reason. Exactly. And it's horrifying to just show up and just say yes to things simply because they feel like I don't know why, but I just want to say yes to this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that intuition is really important.
So, yes. So it sounds like you guys, and I think I'm kind of like lagging behind on Zoom for a second. I'm just talking slow. If you see the video, it'll be funny. It always pauses at those great moments when you're like, I don't know, doing some ridiculous face. But so after you joined, and obviously this was a great choice. Not only, did you make the yes decision in the right time, because it's all about timing too, but it sounds like things, over the years after that, have really exploded for you guys.
Yes, definitely. It was a great decision. It worked out really well. And all the things kind of came together. Like the fact that she had gone to my parents' house while I was in Asia and picked up that cat and kept that cat. Like there was so much loyalty there that really helped, because 2017, when we got rid of all of the contractors and figured out together how to hire and train local employees, it was nuts. We had no idea what we were doing, but because we had that loyalty and that like trust, and I was really like in it, like it was like we were really partnered in it. Obviously we weren't official partners, but it was like we were very ride or die. Like we're figuring this out together. Like there was crying. It was a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot of crying.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah, it was crazy. And one more funny story about the whole hiring thing that we failed to mention was that I gave her a title of Chief Connections Officer just to seal the deal.
Nice.
I love that title.
It was so funny though, because like, first of all, I was like, what does that mean? And she was like, I don't know, my dad thought of it. But then the HR person was like, do not give people an officer title. Now you have to like
chief and an officer. I had no idea.
She was like, there's all these requirements for an officer.
You're like, oh shoot. All right.
Yeah. And then at her 1-year review, that was like the next big part of the story, because I wanted to, 2017 was so difficult that I was like, this shit sucks. I don't want to do this, alone. But at the same time, it was also really fun working with Margy. Like we had some really good times that year. It was a hard year, but we had some great times that year. Our what we called 2017 was we just kept saying good enough 2017. Whenever it was, we were just like, it's good enough 2017. That is just what got us through. And we had started to really like dream and talk about like future business ideas. We were doing a podcast called Women-splaining for fun, where we talked about like mental health stuff. And it was like our hobby and totally outside the business. And we started talking about like, well, what if we had like a podcast studio, like another business? And what if we grew into, we had like an LA office? We were just like visioning and dreaming. And then I was like, okay, she is still like an employee. So if we're like dreaming up these like new business ideas, and we went out to lunch and I was like, so do you want to be a business owner? Like, do you want to be an entrepreneur? Mm-hmm. And she was like, yes. And I was like,
that freedom, right?
Cool. I was like, okay. And that's what kind of started like the very intense thought process of like, okay, I think I want to make her just a co-owner because this is really fun and she's awesome and I can't afford the salary that she's probably going to go try to find somewhere else.
Now she's committed and it's all good.
Yeah.
So on her 1 year, she got to keep the laptop and half the business.
Nice. That's a good 1 year review right there.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I think the big thing there is that trust factor, like for both of you, right? Trusting the process.
The reciprocity of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you're going, what you're creating, and the fact that you guys could, and, because, and, Jessica, I'm sure, in the beginning stages, finding people today that can show up is like a fucking joke. Like, it's hard, as I can't believe how difficult it is. Like, it is
to find quality connections.
Speaking of connections, pun intended. It's really difficult. And so when you find someone like Margy to come into the business and to really help you scale it, that's a game changer. And that's rare. So, congrats to you guys for like connecting and finding that level of trust.
And both being willing to show up for each other and for the partnership and the collaboration and the possibility without having any expectation or.
Yeah. No, there was just a lot of, like you said, a lot of trust, and just like, we just went all in on each other and the business. And, it really ended up working out quite well. It's just like, business partnership is so much like a marriage. And when
Yeah, it is.
To be clear, we are not romantically in love, but like when you fall in love with someone, you just like know that you want to marry that person. That is like the platonic way in our business partnership. Like we just knew we wanted to be partners.
Yeah. And I've listened to your show, and another business partnership said this, and I totally agreed that it was really just, we founded our friendship on top of a professional relationship, because before we were friends, we worked together fundraising. So we had that professional relationship of like going for goals and knowing how each other was that way. And then me being a contractor and an employee, like we became really close friends through working together. But that was really helpful, because if I were to just go into business with someone I'm friends with now, like not everyone, just because you like them, is going to be a good match for you professionally and in a business. I don't think there's like anyone in the world that I would run a business with besides Jess.
Truth.
I agree with that, all of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like different relationships in your life like have different purposes, you know, like, so I think there's like a big difference between like your spouse and your best friend. Like they serve two different purposes. Like me and Margy are best friends, but she has a best friend that is not like a business partner. Right. And like, I do too. I have a best friend that like, I would never do business with, you know, like there's different roles in your life, for different things.
Yeah,
totally. And I would add, for anyone, like we talked a lot about like how hard it was to switch over from contractors to employees. But we really have come out the other side. It is still challenging, but to anyone who's at that point right now, it really is worth it. And at this point, we're a 7-figure business. Going beyond that, we have 18 full-time employees with benefits who are working remotely right now. But we look back on our systems and how we hired, who we hired, and we like are horrified now. So you do break through. And obviously we're still breaking through. In a year, we're going to look back at what we're doing now and probably be horrified, but we have great leadership on our team. We have people who are leading besides us. And we streamlined our training. It really does get easier.
Yes, right. For sure. And I mean, if I could go back, I would probably have started with employees, because I think it was that changeover that was really difficult, but I'm on the employee train for sure.
Yes.
Now, so it's been so where are you at in your business, like years wise? Because I have a magic number I want to talk about.
Well, so she became a business partner in 2018.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then you founded it in 13, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys are moving towards that decade, you know, getting closer to that time frame.
Yep.
That I have seen this so many times that the 10-year mark is golden. Like golden, amazing, you know, rainbows and Skittles and like all the things, because when you're showing up and you're working your ass off, it's just a time that makes this magical. I just see it I see it not only in the clients that I've been working with, but I just in people that I know that I've talked to, and just forever. So, you know, I'm still in the baby stages, and I'm so looking forward to like that moment of a decade looking back. And, you know, I think we all make so many decisions and we're like, what the fuck?
What was I thinking? Yeah.
What? But, you know, those are also, as we well know, amazing growth opportunities, because there's always some kind of learning in that we had to have, or smack in the face or whatever it is. So mostly just a smack in the face, but it sounds like, you know, you guys went deep, and, you know, this is something that's really interesting to talk about again, before we kind of get to more of the business stuff that I think we really need to glean your guys' wisdom from, you know, what you do and how you are helping people, you know, in revenue and everything. But let's talk about like personal development and how this has been a part of your guys' journey, because Diane and I are clearly, you know, really wrapped around that fundamentally at a very deep level and
at a core level. Yeah.
It's so important. It's so imperative. It's the only thing that makes us evolve at the end of the day. And 2020 is asking all of humanity to do that. And some will and some won't. But you know, how did that change your guys' path, do you think, by going like deep?
Yeah, well, I'm obsessed with personal development, and I got really into personal development really by necessity. And I think that's kind of like the silver lining of negative things is I had, you know, such a lifetime of anxiety and depression and OCD as a kid and as an adolescent. And so I really sought out personal development to get relief. Like it wasn't about like being the best I could be and becoming a millionaire. It was really just like desperation. And when I was probably 19, I was not doing great. I was just really negative. I had a lot of anxiety, like I said, a lot of depression. And someone I was dating, their mom gave me The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's a great first one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That book is the best. Like it's the best, and he is the best. And I actually like didn't read it right away. I was like, okay, because I didn't want to change. Like I was afraid of something that wasn't what I knew. And I had this idea that I would lose my identity if I started doing personal development and stuff like that. But then I got to a point of like just being miserable where I ended up giving it a chance and was like, you know, shocked by like basically being present for the first time in my entire life, which lasted like 2 seconds, but it was still crazy. And that started me getting really interested in it. And from there, people would say, oh, you like this? What about this? Check out this. So I got really into it and just loved it so much. And I love therapy too. And when Jess and I were working together, I had a stack of books and one of them was The Power of Now. And I think it might've been 2017. It was like
It was.
Yeah, there was a lot of stress and it was just so intense. And she was going on vacation to the beach and I gave her these books and I was like, I think you'll like these. Like
you said for the spirit, I think you said for the spiritually curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was like, I want some, like, I'm going to the beach. Like I want some like books, and you brought these all in. You brought Pema Chodron's book, Eckhart Tolle's book. And then there was another one that I can't remember, but
the other one I didn't like as much, but it was like more mainstream and I wasn't sure what you would be into. So Pema Chodron, When Things Fall Apart, and Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now are like the two power players that I think are the best.
And I just devoured, I read those on the beach. I devoured them and I totally love them. And, you know, while I was at the beach, like starting my personal development journey, Margy's calling me saying like, the employees are pissed. There's no paper towels. And like, stuff was falling apart at the office kind of. But yeah, the personal development, Margy introduced it to me. So it all kind of started with Eckhart Tolle's book for both of us.
That's a good place to start for sure.
Yeah, it's the best. And then Jess was just so great and like so into it. Like she just got it right away. She was into it. And then that really led us both to being so open when one of our clients was talking about the Landmark Forum and how it had changed her life and helped her and her husband make like millions more in their business than they had before, which is what really piqued my interest. Yeah. You always go into it thinking you want money and then you actually get like a better relationship with your mom and money.
Yeah.
But so we were both really enrolled in that and then registered and did the entire Landmark curriculum together, which was incredible.
That's intense. So that is incredible. And the fact that you as business owners at that point, doing that together, that fundamentally changes everything. I think that you can, you're what you're experiencing together, B, like the open-mindedness of everything. And, that, which are obviously some of the most important aspects to running a business: flexibility, open-mindedness, and understanding each other at a deep, deep core level. Mm-hmm. I think that's, why Diane and I just clicked, because the core, is understood. Like there's a basic understanding. It doesn't matter, like it's not like you guys are the same per se. It's like the yin and yang, like you complement and you,
enhance. and amplify one another. And I think, Natalie, that's what you and I do with one another very easily. Like, we're not the same person. Like, we are different people, and we have different strengths and different qualities that, you know, and different blind spots too, and weaknesses. So
totally. And, you know, experiences like that, really, that you can see how it really shapes your path, like life and business, which clearly are never separated. They're 100% intertwined and connected. So that's awesome that you guys did that. All right. So you guys go on this beautiful journey together. You know, it's been a few years since, and now we're in this interesting journey of 2020, whatever the fuck that is. I don't know, you know, how, you know, business is changing like daily, right? So, let's kind of go back a little bit, before we close out. Let's kind of go back to, you know, Jess, what really made you come up with this whole concept? Like, what did you see happening in the marketplace back? Because that was what, again, like that 2012, 13-ish, something like that?
2013. I mean, it was really my dad's idea, because he's a business coach and an entrepreneur.
Oh, awesome.
And he had
that
me.
Helps.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Trusted resource.
he did not use employees in his business, hence the nameplate and computer idea, but he really helped me with the marketing. He's a marketing expert. And he had me book him for interviews on podcasts. And because it was just like, I didn't have this like grandiose, like I'm going to create something huge. I was just took on a task that my dad suggested that I do, and then just kind of followed the money because there seemed to be a demand for it. And I didn't want to like invoice hourly anymore, because it's really hard to make a lot of money if you're only getting paid by the hour. So I was like doing some Pinterest marketing and client support work. And I was like, that sucks. I don't want to do any of that. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't want to make infographics in this program. But I'm like, podcasting is awesome. And I love connecting people. Like, it's just so fun to bring people together. So I was like, I want a business like just around this. So my dad helped me come up with the concept of like the packages and like guaranteed number of bookings, which is totally unheard of in PR. You do not get guaranteed bookings in PR. And I was so nervous to do that. Honestly, I was so nervous to guarantee bookings, because I'm like, oh my God, what if I can't guarantee it? Because I was brand new.
Right.
But you just do it. And you do your best and figure
it out. And hope for the best.
Yep. And now it's like we have enough experience where somebody can come to me and say like, can you guarantee me bookings? And I can say yes, because we have thousands of shows we've connected with, blah, blah, blah. Or I don't think we can, because I've never worked with somebody like you before.
Right.
You know, and then like figure it out from there. But it's just so fun to see how the business has grown. Because in the beginning I was like, oh my God.
Don't know what this means. But that was also in those, you know, that's really when podcasting was getting going. I was working in ad agencies in, you know, Manhattan, and that became like this big, huge thing. Like, you know, everyone started talking about that. So that's really, it's an interesting time, because you really did step onto the right wave for that, for sure. And, you know, there's no sign of that. In fact, if anything, increasing, right? Because content.
Yeah. And just looking at Edison Research, they're the big stats company. They do all like the election polling and everything. Their stats show that podcast listenership has increased year over year since 2013. Before 2013, it had gone up and down. So it is kind of crazy to be like, wow, I really got in at a good time.
Look at that trust intuition right there. Look at it.
I think it was kind of luck, but yeah.
Well, you know, it's so funny. Like, I feel like when you're in, when you just have this intuition, you don't really name it as such at the time, but you look back and you're like, wow, fucking timing was amazing. Like wow. Because you were in it and you just like went for it and was just like taking action steps and doing it. And you don't really, it's hard to call it that at first, but right, you can look back and be like, wow.
That is true.
With perspective. Yeah. Hindsight.
Yeah. All right. So why is like being guests on podcast. I mean, I have ones, but I want to hear from your, I mean, I know I totally get this and I think it's great. And, you know, I honestly need to hire you guys, but you know, it's also that thing of like, oh, time, right? But what value does this add to a person's business and like how they can increase revenue, and how does this really, all this activity, what does that really do from a, like, I'm sure you're quantifying that for clients. What does that really look like?
Margy, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So our clients are in a number of different industries, so the results can look a little bit different, and we get really clear with people on their goals and target audience before, honestly, we even sign them up as clients. And part of why our clients are so good is because we're really selective about who we work with, and we work with people that we really like and who are really impressive, which is helpful, I think, because hosts know that our clients are of a certain caliber. But a lot of our clients get clients from podcast interviews. I would say that is the biggest, most obvious ROI, because if you are a service-based entrepreneur who can work with people virtually, you will get business from podcast interviews as long as you show up and do a good job and give value. So it's a very easy way for them to get out there in front of new audiences and get clients.
Right. And what do you think some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs are making that invest in this kind of strategy? Like, because let's be real, money right now especially is very tight, and or people are really looking at their book saying, okay, well, we need to cut, like, I mean, there's so much conversation around what really makes a difference. And personally, content is the name of the game, period. Mm-hmm. End of story. Like, but what do you guys think, people, what's happening right now?
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest mistake people make is a lack of consistency. This is a strategy that really requires longevity. It's a slow burn. Lightning doesn't usually strike, right? Like, every now and then you do your first interview and you get a client and you're like, wow, that's not really the whole point of podcast guesting and doing podcasting. It's really about being consistent and continuing to show up, because, I'm sure people are listening to this interview today and, interested in this story, and this is piquing their interest. Maybe this is the first time they're hearing about, oh, I could go on podcast as a guest. They're probably not ready to come, like, invest $15,000, maybe, like, right, hearing us right away. But, if they hear us again, maybe they join our email list or join our Facebook group and then hear us on another show in 3 months. Like, it takes time. But if we just do one interview and it's like, let's see if it works, you're kind of asking people to be, decide to work with you off of like one piece of information. So again, the biggest mistake is just people giving up and not being consistent with their marketing and with the strategy. There's
that showing up angle coming back, it's threading its way in here. Mm-hmm. So that is, can we talk about that a little more and like yell it and maybe, highlight it and maybe make a nameplate for it or something?
Yeah.
With a cat or a dog.
And I will just add, because we've been in business for 7 years, I can't tell you how many people reach out and say, like, I've been on your email list for years, or I saw you, I met you at a conference 3 years ago, and now I need interviews. And I just thought, oh, I remember meeting her. Let me Google her and see if she's still around. Well, it's pretty easy to find me on Google because there's so many goddamn interviews out there with me as a guest. So it's easy. And I'll literally have people that are like, they hear my competitor on a podcast and they don't like remember the name. So they Google, but then they find us because we're out there so much. So people, you need to keep showing up, stay relevant. Don't have your last interview appearance be 5 months ago, because they'll be like, maybe they're not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And that's probably why a lot of people, me included, like, you need to, that's the first thing of marketing is consistency. Showing up, keep doing the thing you're doing, keep doing the thing you're doing, tweak it if you have to. But if you don't adhere to the strategy, I can't even tell you in my career how many people I've been like, I really hate to tell you this, but you will fail because you are changing your strategy every fucking week. Seriously. I mean, and there's just no consistency, and it's a big problem because people see shiny, glittery things
Well,
and are like,
people want immediate gratification, and that's not how a lot of things in life end up working out. Like, it's just not. It's a long game. I mean, it's relationship, it's connection.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. That SEO game is like the name but it's all organic. So there's that too. I mean, from the perspective of, beyond doing the interviews and things of that nature. But so what else do people need to know here? Because I think this is a really cool strategy, and I love your guys' company. Again, Diane and I thank you
benefited from
targeting.
It,
well, and it's been great because even the people that we were like, I'm not sure they're a good fit, but would they be willing to talk about XYZ and work with them a little bit to massage, and see if that can work? Because let's be real, not everyone wants to dive deep into the soul. So some people are like, no, that's scary. That sounds awful. But other people are great, so what else do people know about this? Because I think this is, especially now, like, what a great strategy. Like, if people have so much extra time, this is the time to take action and do this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I would just add, based off of like kind of what you just said, I think it's really important that if you're going to do podcast interviews and really invest in being a guest, being open to just shifting what you talk about. Like, I had a call yesterday with somebody, they only wanted to be on dentist podcasts. And I was like, are you willing to? No. I'm like, okay, that would be I did not take that client on because, when you got to be willing to go on shows and talk about different things. Like, my favorite interviews are ones like this, where we're sharing stories we've never shared before. That's what makes it really fun. And that's what helps listeners get to know you in a deeper way, which ultimately is what creates the trust that makes people want to buy from you.
You said that so beautifully. Yes, exactly. Like, it's the core. People, especially today, people need to know you're a human, right? Like, you have a soul, right? Like, you're going to really give a shit about me, right? You're transparent and authentic, right? I mean, those things are just glaringly obvious that the world needs more of that. So what exciting things do you ladies have happening? I don't know. We can skip this year if you want to, or go straight to 2021. But, what's next? What's coming up?
Margy's working on some stuff.
Yes. Yeah. I've been working on a book, which has been great. I think it's like kind of making me lose my mind, but I'm told that that's the process. So
Diane, is that the process?
Natalie and I are both writers. So yes, I think we both.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten the book route yet. So Diane knows, I think, and I think I've heard her say she's losing her mind sometimes. So, right?
I'm so sick of that damn book.
Why did I write this?
Yeah.
A lot of that. Again, seriously. Yeah.
So what's your book? When is it coming out, or what is your next?
Good question. I'm still working on it. My next step is I need to find an agent to pitch it to publishers, because I know the importance of hiring an agent who's already in the industry to pitch and not DIYing it from our business. I'm like, nope, gonna get an agent. So working on that. I'm also working on a keynote and a shorter 15-minute speech alongside the book, which is kind of where the book came from. We did this great speaker training with our friend and now client, Jacqueline Nagel. And that's where the whole book came out of, but I'm also doing the shorter version, which was going to be pitched as a TEDx talk, but they're not taking applications. So I think I'm just going to record it and put it out virtually for now. So something to do in 2020, and then still working behind the scenes on getting the book published.
That's awesome. Congratulations. I mean, all of those steps are necessary and painful, right?
Yeah.
Day drinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Getting a lot of wine delivered.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And what about for the business as a whole? Like, what's happening for you guys next? Are you, what it's shifting, changing, evolving? 2020 is making us do weird things. So just want to know.
Yeah, we're growing our team. You know, we're in a mastermind called Legacy Leaders, which is a good summary of what we're doing is building up our team and our leadership. We have, 2 salespeople that we hired 3 months ago that are just now taking over consult calls because I've been doing all of them, which has been a lot. So that's like the most exciting thing from my seat is being able to hand that off and, seeing how that will allow us to scale, because it won't just be on my calendar, but we'll be able to literally like multiply the amount of leads that we can talk to, which I am very excited about.
That's huge. That's awesome. Taking out of like manual mode, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. I see operations all the time and I'm like, oh my God, the manual stuff is just like, it just weighs the business down so badly. And the people. Forget about everything else. Talk about day drinking. That's a theme.
This Friday afternoon we're recording this, so. After 5.
Well, that's awesome. And so who are you looking for, like, to grow the team? Like, maybe there's someone in our audience listening right now going, I need new stuff. I need to do something else. Who are you looking for? Or what are you looking for?
Yeah. I mean, so as far as our team, if you live in Rhode Island, please reach out to us. We're still not hiring outside the state of Rhode Island. But if you're an entrepreneur that wants to get booked on podcasts, we would love to connect with you. We do free masterclasses in our Facebook group. So you can register for the next round at interviewconnections.com/masterclass.
Perfect. I'm probably going to see you in there. No, I'm definitely going to see you in there.
Yay, you should. They're really great. They're like 10 days long and we put literally everything into this masterclass. We're training every single day live. They're really fun. And because they're live, they're kind of different every time.
Right.
So it's like leveraging podcast interviews with what's going on right now, which is, tough, but it's exciting stuff too.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So any final words before we come to a close today that you want to share? Either of you. All of us.
I don't think I have anything else. This was so fun.
Yeah.
This was a really fun conversation.
This was. It just works. And we're not even drinking, you guys.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for giving us the space to share our story like together like this, because we do a lot of interviews separately, but we haven't actually like come and like shared it in that kind of back and forth way. So that was super fun.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, when I saw your, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We should just do this whole, we should connect it.
Yes.
It does tell like a very powerful story, especially you two connecting, showing up for each other on such deep levels before you even got into, the business as to the state it is now anyway. So that's awesome. So thank you, Margy. Thank you, Jess, for joining us today. We appreciate you. We love your company. You guys are just
highly recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not joking about contacting you because I need to really step up my game. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs need to step up their game, right? And this is one way to do that. So we will have all of your information posted on our blog. So please get in touch with Margy and Jess and the Interview Connections team. And thank you again. And may everything just expand and grow even in this crazy ass time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, and please, in the meantime, if you know anyone or you want to pitch your story, please get in touch with us at disruptnowprogram.com, or you can get in touch with me on Instagram at disruptwithnatalie. Of course, all the information is on our website. Again, thank you, and in the meantime, remember, no status quo.